Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLuga. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Wednesday, February 19th. So we have another prospect to talk about. Last week we talked about linebacker Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss, not the son of that Chris Paul, right? But an impressive linebacker prospect for sure. Today we're talking about Jacob Baer, a Senior Bowler who the Jaguars met with. We're going to dive into it here. Jaguars, they are getting their in-person GM interviews kicked off today. A little bit of a rainy morning in Duval County here. But we're going to talk about the GM hiring once it's made, which I've reported on that. I believe it's going to happen Friday or Saturday. Sunday at the very latest is I think when you'll get news about it. I would expect Friday night or Saturday during the day is when you will find out who the Jaguars GM will be. You can go check more information about that on previous videos. But today, again, we're talking about interior offensive line draft prospect Jacob Baer. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. So, Jacob Baer, he met with virtually every team that was at the Senior Bowl. He told Justin Melo of the Draft Network when they interviewed. But he said the Jaguars, among a couple other teams, were particularly engaged and had a good meeting with Baer. So, look, as we've talked about, teams at the Senior Bowl, they meet with almost everyone, pretty much. They meet with pretty much everyone. So it's not like a big piece of news that the Jaguars met with Jacob Baer. And I'd honestly be surprised if they weren't pretty engaged in every single meeting, because that is the style of this new coaching staff, right? That is the style of this new regime. High energy all the time, locked in. So I don't know that this means they're particularly interested in Baer more than any other prospect that was at the Senior Bowl, but still, with the news that we got that the Jaguars had a good interview with Baer, we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about it. I think Baer had a really strong Senior Bowl, stood out in a big way as a small school prospect who I wasn't even familiar with. Interior offensive lineman coming out of Arkansas State by way of Lamar. 2 years at Lamar, then 2 years at Arkansas State. Again, I didn't know who he was, but he definitely caught my eye. He had a really strong week along with a couple other interior offensive linemen from small schools. Talk about a guy from Sacramento State. Obviously, Gray Zabel had a big week as well. It was an impressive week overall for those small school kids on the interior. He played center exclusively in college, both at Lamar and Arkansas State. I don't think there's anything prohibitive about his profile that says he can't play guard. And you saw him do work across the interior of the offensive line at the Senior Bowl. He's 6'3" and 315 pounds, 33-inch arms. Good, solid measurements for an interior offensive lineman. Pretty big for a center, but solid measurements overall if you're talking about a center or a guard prospect. Of course, on tape, outside of what we saw at the Senior Bowl, all we're looking at is a center. That's all we saw. Plenty of sand in his pants and lower body strength, leg drive. I think in the run game at the point of attack, you see all those things pop up. Like, he's got a lot of good mass on his frame. He's a powerful lower half for sure. His hands are impressive, good placement and grip strength. Kind of stays latched onto you pretty well. He moves laterally, pulling and angling at a high level. I think you don't see him like getting out and really kind of striding in space, but in a 5 to 7 yard area, he moves really well laterally and vertically. And you see him execute a lot of inside zone, which of course very common in the NFL today. You can run inside zone, you can run duo as those bread and butter interior runs. In pass pro, plays with a wide base, which gives you a good center of gravity. Has really impressive hands that we talked about. He's always getting those hands landed in the right place. And I think having nearly 33-inch arms, like right at 32 7/8, that's good length for the interior. At offensive tackle, it's kind of like borderline, but on the interior, that's good length, and he's going to have better length than some of the guys he's going up against on the interior, even at the NFL level, which is going to help him. And as a small school guy, he's had to develop more because it hasn't been given to him, right? He has impressive hands, punch timing, grip strength again. He can anchor down, plant those feet in the ground, use his flexibility and his strength, and really not budge much when guys are trying to bull rush him. He's light on his feet in pass pro too. I think you can see again, not the most explosive down the field or really getting out in space, but in a small area, you see really good athleticism and nimbleness on his feet. You do wish you had more tape against top competition, but played really well at the Senior Bowl against. That was a really talented group of interior defensive linemen, and he did a good job against Michigan this year. Also played against Iowa State, did a good job against them. I watched the tape against Michigan. I was able to watch him against Michigan and Northern Illinois, and really impressive overall, honestly. There are moments where he gets out in front of his feet and leans and can kind of lose balance. You also see times where he does that, though, and he doesn't lose balance. So I think balance is a strong trait of his as well. It's just about making sure you're in control when you're getting out on the move consistently. I think he's probably qualifying as a good, not great athlete at center. Again, I think in a 5 yard, 7 yard radius, strong athlete. I think when you're talking about trying to get downfield to the third level, that's not going to be his bread and butter. I could see any team, the Jaguars though, talking about the Jaguars here, targeting him likely on day 3 as a developmental center or swing player across the interior of the offensive line, and I'd be good with that. I think when you look at center, the Jaguars need a center of the future. Could Jacob Bayer be that guy? Possibly. It's tough to really know with these small school guys without the major body of work against high level competition exactly what you feel like you're getting. And he was not invited to the Senior Bowl, which is going to muddy that picture even further. Obviously, he should be able to have a pro day and run and test and all that good stuff, and we'll see how that plays out for him. But the fact that he wasn't invited to the combine probably means he's more of a late day 3, 6th, 7th round to undrafted type of guy, diamond in the rough type of player. Now, my tape evaluation, based on the 2 games I watched in the Senior Bowl, which I watched every rep, I thought he looked like an early day 3 guy. Honestly, somebody who has a chance to, at worst, be a good swing player on the interior and at best, potentially be a quality starter at center. So that's an interesting foil to see where he ends up landing, certainly. When you look at the Jaguars, Mitch Morse going into the final year of his deal, they need a center of the future. They could upgrade at center too, like right now. It's going to be fascinating to see how the Jaguars play that out center because Mitch Morse is a veteran leader, still plays at a reasonably high level. I think, probably average to slightly above average at the center position. Even in, 33 years old. They need a starting guard right now in 2025 at right guard. When you look at Brandon Sheriff set to hit free agency, maybe another one down the road, depending on how they view Ezra Cleveland as well. So the Jaguars can definitely use talent and depth on the interior of their offensive line. I think Jacob Bayer could provide that for them on day 3. I think that's what you're looking at. And who knows? Maybe you like the kid, but you kind of talk around the league and you figure that maybe you can get him way later than you would expect based on what you see from him on tape. That's kind of how it goes. I do think it's a pretty deep interior offensive line class overall. I think there's a lot of guys that have a chance to be either really good swing players or potential starters. I think Bayer is one of them. I really like him at center. I think that at 315 pounds, that just gives you a lot more strength and mass and, again, lower body strength than most centers have in the NFL, but can execute most of the assignments you would expect from a movement standpoint as well, and has strong hands. So I'm a fan of Bayer. We'll love to see what ends up happening with him. We'll be following him closely, certainly, now that we've gotten news of the Jaguars having a solid interview with him. And let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Y'all have a good one.